We are live, but we will not officially start the live podcast until I could flip this bottle of water on its bottom on this table. Here we go. All right. All right, we both knew that was going to happen. So listen, let me get this water bottle real quick and stop embarrassing myself. All right, guys, welcome to Monday morning live Q&As for real estate investing. We will be talking about how to be a real estate millionaire. All right, it's the question that everybody wants to know. We will be playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I am your host, Meredith Vieira. If you're too young to know that reference, you probably shouldn't be investing in real estate because you, as a minor, cannot contractually actually make a contract with somebody in the world of real estate investing. Any contract that you actually make as a minor is void. That's actually the first thing I learned in business law class. Do not contract with a minor. But welcome, guys. It's good to be here. Good to be here on a Monday. I do have some news. It's exciting news. But for some of you, it may be unfortunate. And, well, I guess we'll kind of just say it at the end, right? I don't want to ruin the whole live stream by saying this news. And no, I am not pregnant with a child. However, my wife and I have been thinking, and we will not have any kids for the first 5 years of our marriage. That's right. All right, so let's on to business, right? Let's get on to business. Enough chit chat, enough goofing around. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. All right, so as always, guys, check the links in the description below. Check out PropStream. It's a software that I use every single day to find properties. Information is always on point. Start your 7-day free trial right now with the link in the description below. And as always promoting our free owner financing course that we put out. So I'm excited, all right? I think there's like 1,500 people who downloaded the owner financing class. So that makes me really happy. Now, if you want to put your knowledge to the test after watching the owner financing course, feel free to check out the free, again, guys, free, so much free. You know, it's a 4-letter word that starts with F, you know, and typically that other 4-letter word that starts with F is not free. Usually it costs a lot of money. Like a wedding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Like, Lisa, if you're watching, please don't make me sleep on the floor. Anyways, okay. So guys, check out the free workbook, the real estate workbook, if you want to put your real estate knowledge to the test. And I always tell our students and I always tell our people, look, if you're able to get through that workbook, then you are so ready to do a deal. And speaking of my wife is calling me, but obviously I am with you guys, so I cannot take her call. So sorry, honey. I'll call you later, right? That's how much I love you guys. All right. Free workbook. Check it out, guys. I do have real life deals that I've done in the past that I include in the workbook. So if you guys want some practical, because I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, I learn the best by doing, right? So I learn the best by doing. So I love exercises and simulations and role plays and things like that. Just because I'm a very practical man. I love doing. So yeah, go ahead and check that out, guys. Go ahead and check that out. All right, let's go say hi to a couple people. Antonio says, morning from San Diego. Hey, morning to you. I hope it's not freaking 30 degrees like it is here in Chicago. By the way, San Diego, I don't know how cold it gets over there, but I remember I was running a webinar about a year and a half ago, and it was a training webinar. There was like a good 30, 40 people in it, and I was training some people, and then this was like a year ago when Chicago, we had this thing called the polar vortex, and it went to like minus 30 degrees, and with wind chill, it was like minus 40 something, but it was freezing. It was so cold that like my car couldn't even start, you know, like my wife at the time, my girlfriend, we literally had to stay inside for 3 days straight because we couldn't go outside. Like, it was that cold, super cold. And I remember I was running a webinar indoors, and there was a gentleman from like New Orleans, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, it's pretty cold here too. It's super cold. It's like 54 degrees." And I'm like, "Sir, you have no idea what even the word definition cold even means." And he says, "Oh man, but 54 degrees, that's so like." Excuse me, sir, that type of weather in Chicago, you know, we put on shorts, you know, we grill barbecue on the outside and watch the Bears lose again, right? Like that's just what happens in Chicago. And he made this argument. He's like, oh, but we have more humidity down here, so it's more, the air has more moisture, so it feels colder. Like it's actually cold. I just stopped the conversation. I don't even think I got around the training. I was just arguing with this man. No, I trained, right? I kind of just ignored him. But anyways, guys, put in your Q&A, put in your questions in the chat box, guys. And here's my thing, right? Here's something that I've been thinking about. A lot of people, for some reason, do not feel comfortable putting their questions in the live stream. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. Like this is a time where I get to answer your guys' question completely for free. So guys, do not hesitate. Feel comfortable to ask your questions, at least while you can, right? So other than that, we have questions. Today we're talking about how to be a real estate millionaire. Perfect. Okay, so this also coincides as to why I prefer real estate over any other asset class, such as stocks, such as bonds, such as other investment vehicles, even like money markets or whatever it may be. I prefer real estate over because of this huge difference. Let's talk about on this whiteboard I have behind me. By the way, guys, do you guys like the shelf that Sam put it up? By the way, I don't deserve any of the credit. Sam is the one who put this shelf all by himself. He put the books and the plants, right? The little Kwak Brothers cup. There's a little miniature Lamborghini back there, all right? All him, all right? That's not me at all. All right, so let's talk about why I prefer real estate over stocks and any other asset classes. Let's talk about what, stocks and bonds, mutual funds, let's talk about what they offer. And I'm going to make this a little thicker. Let's talk about what they offer. Well, they offer, number one, they offer a return on investment, right? If you look at the S&P 500, right, and I one of my business partners, Kevin, shout out to Kevin, used to run a pretty large hedge fund in New York, right? So this guy knows what he's talking about, and I spent obviously a lot of time with him. Him and I are doing some larger deals together, actually. And, we talk about the differences between stocks, bonds, mutual funds versus real estate because, well, he used to be in the stock world. This guy was a founder and the CEO, a chairman, whatever you want to call it, of a hedge fund, a 9-figure hedge fund company, guys. Like this was, he wasn't playing games, And today he invests in real estate. He doesn't do anything else for the reasons I'm about to tell you. So, when we think about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, they do provide a return, yes. But let's talk about what real estate offers. Well, real estate offers not only just a return, but they also offer equity. Now, when I say equity, what do I mean by equity, right? Because you might say, well, Daniel, there's in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, there's opportunities to have equity as well, right? Because if you're investing in stocks, what are you really doing? You're buying shares and you become a shareholder. Therefore, you have a piece of the pie. So if you own, 500 shares of Amazon, you own a part of Amazon. So you might be looking at me and saying, well, Daniel, I knew it. This is the week I catch you saying something wrong, right? Well, guys, that's not necessarily true. Let me tell you what I mean by equity, because I think for me, there is a difference between shares and equity. Equity, in my definition, is not only ownership, right, but also the equity contributes to your ability for your wealth to grow. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you own shares, you don't necessarily have a whole lot of opportunities for your wealth to grow because, well, as we all know in the stock market, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of up and down and up and down and up and down, and it's just very unpredictable. And let's be real, guys. And when you're a shareholder in Amazon, so if you own like 500 shares in Amazon, do you really have control over what's going on in terms of Amazon's decision making? No, the only control you at the end of the day really have is whether to buy or sell those shares, or buy options, whatever, right? Puts, calls, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, that is the extent of your ability to have control over your wealth. However, when you're talking about real estate equity, right? So if you're an investor, let's say you have $1 million, right? Let's say you have $1 million, and this is ultimately going to contribute how to become a millionaire in real estate, even if you don't have any money, guys, right? Because I'll be honest with you guys, right? I'm not one to showboat, right? I hope, right? I hope at least that I stay as far away from being an arrogant person as much as possible. And I do my best, guys. All right, I'm not the best person in the world. I'm certainly not perfect. But if I'm an investor, right, and I'm trying to be a millionaire in real estate, and that M word is something that a lot of millennials throw around, right? I see often when I look at Instagram or any other type of social media, they say, oh, hashtag, I'm a millennial millionaire. And if you looked at their bank account, you probably would disagree. 9 times out of 10, it's typically just some kid in a pyramid scheme who thinks that he's the next Mark Zuckerberg just because he owns a hoodie, right? And he's 24 years old. That's not necessarily the case, Jack, right? That's not necessarily the case at all, right? There's actually a funny meme did you guys ever see the meme where like the lady is crying and she's like pointing, and on the other side of the screen, there's like this white cat, Like I tagged a bunch of the guys in the office, right? It says, oh, like, I'm a business owner, right? The lady's like, I'm a business owner. And the cat goes, no, you're a bottom block in a pyramid scheme or something like that. But it was really funny. Anyways, so, what does it mean to be, well, guys, let me break this down for you, right? There's ways to become a millionaire even when you're working from the bottom, right? Even when you're starting from the bottom, there's ways to get up there. And one of the ways to do that is equity. So let's go back to this conversation. What does it mean to have equity in real estate versus stocks, bonds, mutual funds? So we talked about what equity, quote unquote, means in the stock market, in the bond market. Well, what does it mean in real estate? So if you're an investor, that has $1 million, you have the choice of investing with a real estate investor, right? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when you are a stock investor and you have $1 million, you have a financial advisor. That financial advisor is incentivized to just get you in the game, period, right? And for guys, correct me if I'm wrong. If there's any financial advisors or stockbrokers here on this chat, guys, feel free to correct me, right? I've had hundreds of conversations with financial advisors, stockbrokers, and these are friends of mine, guys, and we're masterminding, because we genuinely want to know the right answers. We want to know what's best for the market, how to build our own wealth, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but a stockbroker and a financial advisor, their job, right, their financial incentive in terms of how they get paid is just getting you in the game. That's it. They just want to get you in the game, right? Regardless of what stocks they buy, regardless if you buy Amazon, whether you buy some, small business startup that just went IPO last year, it doesn't matter. Their incentive is just to get you in the game. That's how stockbrokers make their commission, all right? Now, a lot of stockbrokers and financial advisors, yes, they care about their clients. Yes, they want to pick, whichever, company is best for them. But let's be real, guys, that stockbroker or that financial advisor, they too do not have any control over the decision-making of a company. Whereas if you take a look at my investors, and guys, this is not a way for me to say, oh, my business model or my investor is better than everybody else. Guys, I've made my fair share of mistakes. I have, right? In terms of the wrong people I've partnered with, in terms of, the wrong people I've trusted, et cetera, et cetera. I've made my fair share of mistakes like everybody else. But let's look at my business model and what I do in real estate, and ultimately what a lot of other people do as well. They take $1 million investor, they identify, whatever asset class that the investor is wanting to invest in. And in this case, I am a multifamily and apartment complex specialist. Have I done flips? Have I done notes? Have I done single families? Yes, I have, right? But my favorite way of investing is apartment complex. I think it's got the most financial benefits, long-term and short-term, that a real estate investor can have. So I have an investor, right? And I have, let's call this investor John, right? And for the record, I actually do have investors named John. I'm just using the name as an example, okay? So I have this investor John, and I have me. And I have a conversation with John. Say, John, what would you like to invest in? Tell me about your finances, right? Tell me about your finances, your financials, what you're looking to do. Tell me where you are in your life in terms of what you need. Are you a young person that's going to require, a lot of cash flow, but also has the energy to contribute his or her own skills? Or vice versa, are you somebody that's a little older, maybe in your 60s, And all you want to do is just throw money at somebody and just watch it grow and not do anything, right? I ask these questions because I want to do what's best for that person. Guys, there have been times where I have investors and they have money and we're just not a good fit. And I say, hey, listen, there's somebody else that is doing that particular strategy that I think you are going to enjoy a lot more. And I just pass that information to that investor, right? It's typically a friend of mine that I trust, that I know treats their investors well, has integrity, so I just pass them along. And guys, I do have requirements in terms of what I look for an investor, right? So one of those requirements is that in order for someone to invest with me in the real estate investing game, they must bring a minimum of $100,000. That's just the rule I have, because of what I go after. Because I go after apartment complexes, oftentimes the investment required is a lot larger than $100,000. It just is. For example, I'm raising $70 million right now for a deal that I have going on down south. Right? So typically I ask the investor, hey, what are you looking for? What do your finances look like? Okay, if that's the case, let's go after these type of assets. And if they're an individual, they want passive income, they want to invest in apartment complexes, they want the tax benefits, they want to see their wealth grow and appreciate, then I say, awesome, let's go ahead and go after this 30-unit apartment complex. And typically I give my investors 30 to 50% equity in the deal. And there's that word, equity. So let's go ahead and break this down, right? So they got $1 million. And let's say that, this is even if it's owner financing, let's go ahead and put 20% down, right? I'll be conservative here because, guys, my owner financing deals on average are 10% down. They are 10 to 15% down is where all my owner financing deals have been in terms of the down payment. So let's go ahead and just do 20%. So that 20% should get us a $5 million apartment complex. Okay. Well, what does $5 million translate to? Well, typically a Class A apartment complex, and let's say that we're looking at the secondary market, because I typically don't invest in primary markets. And well, a lot of you guys may be asking, well, Daniel, what's a primary market? What's a secondary market? Well, primary market is typically your metropolitan areas, right? So Chicago is a primary market. You got metropolitan downtown, so New York, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, right? I know a lot of people are investing in Dallas right now. Tennessee. Tennessee is a state. What's a city in Tennessee? I feel so dumb right now. Memphis. Thank you. Memphis. What's the big one I'm thinking of? Oh gosh. Oh man, forget it. I'm gonna think about it later in the shower. I'm just gonna be like, right there it is. Okay, Nashville. There you go. Okay, Nashville, Tennessee. There it is. So these major cities, guys. They're the major markets. They're the primary markets. The secondary markets, however, are like your suburbs. So that's like Aurora, Illinois. That's a secondary market. You're talking like Waco, Texas. That's another really good one. Plano, Texas. That's a suburb. These are your secondary markets. And your tertiary markets, which is kind of that third one, those are kind of like the middle of nowhere, right? So I like to invest in the secondary market because, well, when you're investing in places like Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, if you're buying a Class B or a Class A apartment complex, even as a Class B, you're more likely going to pay, $100,000 or more per unit. That's just the way it goes, guys. Now, in the secondary market, if you're investing in Class B, which is the apartments that I like to invest in, well, Class B, you're probably going to pay around $75,000 a unit if you're investing in Class B, depending on where the market cycle is, but most likely you're going to pay $75,000 for a Class B apartment complex. So let's go ahead and do the math. I'm going to pull up my calculator here. And let's talk about 5 million divided by 75,000. Oh, oops. I did calendar instead. Okay, there's a calculator. Okay, sorry guys. All right, so we got 5 million divided by 75,000. And we get about 66. Okay, so 66, right? So that's about 60 units. Let's call it 60 unit apartment complex. So, they put in $1 million. I get that 60 unit apartment complex. Not only are they able to take advantage of the cash flow, the tax benefits, and the depreciation, right, which is a tax benefit. So depreciation, you're talking about straight line depreciation where, because you own a piece of real estate property, you're able to take the value of the building, not the land, because land is not depreciable. You're able to take the value of the building divided by 27 and a half years, which is the IRS cycle, right? That's the schedule for depreciation. And that's the amount of tax benefits you get every single year. Alongside that, you get like cost segregation, et cetera, but that's a conversation for another day. But we're able to appreciate it in terms of the equity. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say that this $5 million complex, we buy it at a 10% cap rate, which is great, by the way, but I'm just going to use 10% for number's sake. That means that $500,000 a year is what this income produces, what this asset produces in income after expenses. So you're talking after taxes, after insurance, maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. But this, however, guys, we're able to increase that. So this is where, again, the investor has a bit more of a say. They have control over what a stock investor would have. So if you're a stock investor and you buy shares, they're having board meetings without you, right? There's somebody else making the decisions without you. And you make your financial decision based on around what this individual is going to decide. I.e., every time Elon Musk put out a tweet about how manufacturing deliverables are going up, the Tesla stock market, Tesla stocks increases. However, when they're not having quarterly meetings and Elon's not tweeting, then typically the stock goes down. It goes low, 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 and then goes up, low, low, right? Although Tesla's been doing really well as of late, right? I must admit it. But if you look at the real estate market, right, in terms of the appreciation, we've got 4 different ways of appreciating. And again, guys, this is a conversation. This is a main tactic in terms of how to be a millionaire in real estate. Because, well, guess what, guys? Your net worth also counts into your equity as well. So your equity is also contributed towards your net worth. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, guys, that this $500,000 of net operating income were to just go up 10%. So you got a 60-unit apartment complex. Let's say the income increases $60,000. What does that mean, guys? It means that each unit has to make $1,000 more a year. Well, how do we do that? You divide it by 12. You increase the rent by that much. Well, 10 divided, you take about $1,000 divided by 12. Roughly, you're looking at a little under $100, right? Probably around $80 to $90. So that's an $80, $90 increase in rent, which, guys, if the market can support it, right, you're able to do it. Because, well, if the building that you're buying right now is at like $800 and the market rent's at $950, well, you could raise it $80, $90 and the tenants still won't leave because you still have a cheaper rent compared to the market. So let's say you increase the income by $60,000. But remember, guys, because it's making $60,000 more, your net operating income is now at $560. At $560 at 10% cap rate, the value now becomes $5.6 million. That means you've increased the value of your asset by $600,000. Guys, that $600,000 is all positive equity. That means you've increased your net worth by $600,000. And if you're sharing that with an investor, and let's say in this situation, the investor has 50% of the deal, right? And that's typically, that's not far-fetched from what I give my investors. I give my investors 30 to 40% ownership over the LLC. That means their net worth increases by $300,000. That's pretty cool, right? That's really neat. Okay, so really good example. Now, guys, that's a main reason. That's one of the main reasons you're able to become a millionaire in real estate, as quicker than, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, because you have the ability to, number one, make decisions as an investor. So if my investors come to me and says, hey, Daniel, I'm not tell me what you're doing with this property. How are we going to do this? Tell me. And I say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And, if this happens, we're going to do that. This happens, we're going to do that. And the investors might say, okay, well, I happen to know someone that does. So, guys, it becomes more of a partnership, which is why I'm more passionate about real estate because, I'm able to have a relationship with my investors, a working relationship, and also a personal relationship. Okay, I've got some questions. What's the likelihood of getting a loan for an apartment complex if my company had $20,000 in its account? Well, it depends. It depends on the size of the apartment complex. If you got $20,000 in your account, if you're talking about getting a loan from a bank, well, technically 1 to 4, though 2 to 4 is multifamily. If we're talking verbiage, right? 2 to 4 is multifamily. 5 and up is apartment complex, because 5 and up is your commercial property. So if you're buying a 5-unit building and you only have $20,000 in your account, that might be a little hard. Because, well, if you're talking about getting a 5-unit, even if you bought each unit at $50,000 a piece, you're talking about paying $250,000. Down payment on $250,000 is $50,000. So not quite. So you may want to perhaps use that money to get a business line of credit, find other ways to leverage that cash you do have. Pete Thomas, if you're interested, feel free to email me at info@thekwakbrothers.com. Give me more details on that, and I'll just connect you with one of my buddies who's really good at business funding, and he might be able to help you. Washington, D.C. in the building. Welcome, Raymond Johnson, DDJ. Hey, what's up, Darnell? It's good to talk to you. From Michigan is back in the house. Nice. I just spoke to Darnell over the weekend. I love it. I need another hard money lender. So Raymond, my recommendation is I'm not a big fan of hard money, just because my philosophy is, listen, there's a reason why there's a lot of hard money lenders running around pretty much seeking people like you. They're seeking people. Why? Well, because they have a lucrative business model in which they make money versus you having other options. I always tell people, raise the money, learn how to raise the money instead of having to depend on hard money lenders, because a lot of hard money, you got to pay points up front. And I'm just not a big fan of that, right? So you got to pay points and you got to provide a return. It's tough. I'm not a big fan. Matt Smith, hello. He also asked, what factors should I consider, or are there any rules of thumb for fourplex? So I don't know if Matt, you heard me say this. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But typically, I'm not a big fan of rules of thumb. I'm not. So I'm not a big fan of the 1% rule. I'm not a fan of the rule of 72. I'm not a fan of a lot of these rules and rules of thumb. And yeah, guys, it makes it easy, right? It makes it easy to decide whether or not it's a good investment. But for me, that's a lot like judging a book by its cover. I see each deal almost like a person. If you're at a party or you're at a social gathering, and let's say hypothetically speaking, you met an individual who has a dragon tattoo on their left shoulder. And let's say your relationship with that individual was not the best, and therefore you develop the stigma saying, okay, everybody who's got a dragon tattoo on their left shoulder is a bad person. Therefore, that's my rule of thumb. I'm going to live by it. Guys, I've seen a good number of deals where they do not abide by the 1% rule. If an apartment complex, I've seen, apartment complexes where, for example, right, let's say that it's a 50-unit building and the rent is $300 a month. And let's say the market rent is $600 a month. And let's say they're asking, $300 a month. Let's say they're asking $40,000 per unit. Well, that right there, they don't follow the 1% rule. That investment doesn't follow the 1% rule. But consider what we just talked about in terms of the opportunity to raise the income and get a lot of equity up front. I mean, guys, if you're doing this, right, you're talking, so even going back to the 60-unit building example, if we're able to increase the positive equity by $600,000 and we start off with 20% equity because of the down payment, I mean, 600,000 to 5 million, what is that? You're talking about 12%. You're adding 12% equity to your position. So you're talking, and because you've increased the equity, right, then your positive equity then becomes a little diluted, I understand. So you're probably at 28% equity by increasing the income. And when you're looking at a building, a 50-unit building, and the rent is $30,000, $300 a month, and they're asking $40,000 a unit, and that market rent's $600. Well, would you say that's a bad deal? It doesn't follow the 1% rule. But I would say that that's a phenomenal deal. I would say that's fantastic, because even if it doesn't follow the 1% rule up front, and it may not cash flow much, as long as that building can cover its expense and the cost of money that first year or the first 2 years, while you stabilize the asset, you stabilize the income stream, I would make the argument that arguably you could double the value of the building by increasing the rent to market rent. You can do that as long as the demand can support and your renter demographic can support that as well. I don't see why not. It can be possible, right? Raise it to 500, you're still $100 below market rent. You're talking about a 50-unit building. That's 50 units, 200, right? Let's do the math there, right? Like, what are we actually talking about? Let's calculate that. So for those of you guys, if you want to follow at home, do 200 times 50 times 12. That's $120,000 in additional income. Let's go ahead and multiply that at a 10% cap rate, which is very generous. So divided by 0.1. Guys, that's $1.2 million additional in equity. Hello? All right, like that's wealth. All right, $1.2 million. And even if you're buying that 50-unit building at $40,000 per door, you're buying it at $2 million. And you're adding $1.2 million to the asset. Guys, that's crazy. Like, you're almost, and even if you put 20% down on this thing, you're talking $400,000, okay? So you got 3.2. So 3.2 million is the asset, right? You got $400,000 in down payment, plus an additional $1.2 million. Guys, you've got 50% equity right out of the gate. That's a phenomenal deal. Not to mention that, after the stabilizing period, it now begins to cash flow and your investors are getting their return and you have 50% equity. Like, guys, what's not to love? That's a phenomenal deal. But at the same time, that deal does not follow the 1% rule. So again, guys, I'm not a big fan of a lot of these rules of thumb. I'm not a fan of the, like some rules, the only rules I'll use if it's a shortcut for me to get to my numbers faster. So AKA, it's rules that help me understand the deal more in depth, right? And a lot of, I've seen this time and time again, even with our students, right? They'll use a lot of these rules that they come up, and guys, I understand these rules of thumb, they're very attractive. They're very marketable. Like you got a lot of these online forums, they'll put out these rules, these strategies that are so cookie cutter that it ignores the depth and the beauty of learning more about a deal more and more. Guys, the money is in the details, right? In the world of real estate investing, the money, the more information you have on a deal, I would make the argument, the more information you have on a deal, the more money you will make, right? Think about it, guys. The more you know about a person, the better the relationship that is, isn't it? Same thing, guys. So again, as much as a lot of these different online forums will use these cookie cutter strategies and these rules of thumb and these, like, they'll use it to market. Why? Because people look for easy way outs. I'm sorry, but you guys do. A lot of our viewers, a lot of the casual real estate investors, they look for the easy way out. And I would challenge and I would make the argument that that's why a lot of people on the internet, right, perhaps even you guys, haven't done a deal yet. We haven't been successful in real estate because a lot of people just look for these shortcuts and they use these shortcuts and it prohibits them and it hinders them from actually mastering the craft, right? All right, guys, that's my rant for the day. That's my rant. But again, guys, I'm not a big fan of rules, and that's, yeah, I think you guys have heard enough. So it's like celebrate. Yeah, absolutely, Matt. 100%. There are so many different ways to structure things, which is, again, guys, why I say invest in yourself, right? Don't go after these rules of thumbs. Master the craft, right? Because the more ways that you have to structure a deal, the more money you will make, right? The more problems you will solve, more value you will bring, therefore the more money you will make. All right, guys, let's go into additional questions. And building this net worth, guys, right, the value add play is what we call it in the world of real estate investing. Increasing the value of the building, that's, in my opinion, that's one of the fastest ways to become a millionaire in real estate. Because, well, you know, if you're splitting that with an investor and they have 50% of the deal, so in that example of the 50-unit building, we got $1.2 million additional in net worth. You know, you got an investor, let's say they got 50% of the deal, they bring the money, you do the work. Guys, that's $600,000 added to your net worth, and you didn't bring any money into the deal. That's pretty crazy, guys. And let's say it took you all year, an entire year, to stabilize that income and increase the rent. I mean, who's gonna say no to having your net worth increase by $600,000 in just 12 months? That's pretty neat, guys. That might even be your 2020 plan, right? The new year's coming up, right? 2020. That might be it. All right, guys. Let's keep the questions going. And again, I forgot. Completely forgot, guys. Feel free. Please give us a thumbs up on this live stream. It does help us out. So give us a thumbs up. Right, it helps us do what we do. It gets me fired up. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. Let me be vulnerable here for a second. Me as a trainer and as an instructor, you know, for me it's hard to be in front of a camera. You know, I struggle with that. On stage, however, I love being on stage. You know, I consider myself to be a pretty good speaker, and I love being on stage. You know, because I get to interact with the crowd. Right, I get to crack jokes, I get to use stories and analogies, I get to do role plays and different things like that. You know, I'm able to feed off the energy off of the people, but in a camera, like, it literally is just a lens, right? Like, I'm in a room right now where, you know, it's just me and Dave, and there's a camera. Hi. Right? Dave just said hello, everyone, right? And there's like all these lights, right, around me, and there's like no one. And for me as an extrovert, as a people person, like, I'm like, oh man, like, this is tough, you know, because I'm just looking into a camera lens. You know, I wish you guys were here with me in person. But what does help me out a lot, guys, is if I see the thumbs up, right? If you guys give this video a thumbs up, it helps me know that you're there, right? It lets me know that you're there, you're enjoying this, you're appreciating it. So, you know, if I'm on stage, you know, I get to see the smiling faces. If I say something that's, you know, like an aha moment, it gives somebody an epiphany, I get to see it. They're like, oh, wow. And they start writing things down, and they nod their head, you know. You know, a lot of the women, right, they're like giving me these seductive looks, you know, and the men, you know, they give me looks of admiration, right? But, you know, in a camera, it gets a little harder for me, you know. So, again, guys, if you could give this video a thumbs up, it will really help me out a lot. You know, it lets me know that you guys are there, you're appreciating this, it gives me good feedback, and it gives me the energy right back, right? It's a two-way street in terms of this energy. Right? And guys, we all know the most important thing is the energy that we have to have as real estate investors. All right, wow, we went from 5 to 15 likes. Jesus Christ, thank you, Jesus. All right, praise the Lord. All right, so having said that, guys, I really appreciate it. Give me some questions, guys. Throw some more questions at me. All right, throw some more questions.
Looks like there's not that much questions.
There's not a lot of questions. Wow, so this is great. Everyone's just giving me thumbs up, and they're not giving me any questions. This is what I wish every marriage and relationship was like. Just positivity, nothing. I'm kidding. All right, guys, so yeah, keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. Is this the next Dan Lok? All right, I see. I have a huge problem with that. I'm not a big fan of Dan Lok. First off, if I want to be Dan Lok, I should probably find the nearest buffet and just eat my face out. No offense, Dan, but, you know. And number two, listen, let me say this. I don't know anything about Dan Lok. I don't. All I know is I saw a bunch of his ads on YouTube. But having said that, let me tell you who I am versus let me tell you who I think Dan Lok is. So I think Dan Lok is a good guy. I think he's an individual who genuinely wants to help people. I think he's an individual who has good things to offer. Now let me tell you who I am. I'm a guy that I at the end of the day, I just like putting my head down and I like to work. That's it. I don't care if there's a camera in my face. I don't care if there's a bunch of people watching me. I don't care. The only time I want attention is when I'm offering value to you fine people. That's it. All right? Like, there have been many times where I've been in this office by myself, in the late hours, or I've been working till 2, 3 a.m. in the morning in my dining room table, eating a bowl of ramen noodles that I pre-made. And there have been times where I have done that and not taken a selfie and just focused on my work. And I see today a lot of individuals who are seeking a lot of attention for the sake of marketing. And at the end of the day, what they're offering is not very good. Not very good at all. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Do I have an education program? Yes, I do. I have an education program, and I'm going to be completely honest. Right? That education program costs $497. But when I tell you that I offer more value in that $497 than a lot of these people charging tens of thousands of dollars, I mean that. I really do. It takes a lot for me to put that out there. I used to teach people, I still do, right? My meetups that I do in Naperville, Illinois, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on 1451 Raymond Drive, Illinois. Every Tuesday starting December, right? But for now, they're on Saturdays. Every meetup, I teach for free. I teach 3 hours a week for free. I do this for free. I give a lot of people advice for free. But at the same time, I also value the fact that a lot of these students they pay $497 to learn pretty much everything that's in my head, right? I have 18, 19 classes that's going to help individuals become an apartment complex investor, create passive income, right? I have classes talk about analyzing deals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I also at the same time realize that, unless people pay for something, it's not going to mean anything to them, right? That's true. That's absolutely true. Think about what we as society brag about, right? If a 15-year-old kid buys a $300 pair of shoes, they're going to brag about that much more than the kid who bought $10 shoes from Walmart. Yet it might be the same shoe. That's just the way it works. Like why do people go to Starbucks and pay $6 for a tall iced macchiato? When you can just make that at home, right? It just doesn't make sense. But that's who I am. And as an individual who, just focuses on giving value without, seeking attention, I immediately am just not a fan of Dan Lok. I'm not, because I have heard a couple things that he say. I just disagree with them. I do. All right, guys. Enough of the ranting. Right? Okay. Let's just spread a lot of love here. Right? Is it better to buy large units or several fourplexes? Great question, Matt. Is it better to buy large units or several fourplexes? Well, let me say this. I think there's a lot of perks to owning a bunch of fourplexes. So for one, generally speaking, you will have better quality tenants. You will. But however, if you're buying large complexes, and when I say large complexes, I mean like 50 units or above. That's typically my standard for buying large multifamily or large apartment complexes. The good news, however, is that if you have kind of 45 units or more or 50 units or more kind of in that line, that's when you have the ability to have what my mentor, Mike Baum, would call the economies of scale. You're able to have an in-house maintenance worker and be cost efficient. If you own a large complex, you're able to have a crew and have it be cost efficient. If you have several fourplexes, however, you're talking about a lot of traveling for these maintenance guys, and overall, it might take them a couple weeks or a week to get out there. Whereas if you got a maintenance guy and they live in the facility, they live in the property, well, it's pretty much a matter of just hours, really, at the end of the day. So, a couple pros on each side. I'm at the level of my career where I prefer large complexes. I do. I think they're not only the economies of scale, but for me, it's just easier to analyze. It attracts more of the investors that I'm looking to attract. And I just have found it to enjoy it more, right? At the end of the day, I just see it as more fun. LOL, just saying you're producing value info. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, IC. Appreciate the compliment. I will say, however, a lot of people who make videos on YouTube, it doesn't mean it's valuable. I've seen a lot of people, especially in the real estate world. Well, let me put it to you this way. I think that 60% of all real estate investing knowledge out there is not valuable. I think it actually hurts the individual more than it does help them. I think you got a pretty good idea when I explained earlier, my stance on different rules of thumbs and different investing rules, whatever it may be. It actually ends up hurting people in the long run than it does helping. All right, question. How do you handle getting appraisals and/or inspections when you're looking at multiple deals? Most appraisals and inspections cost about $400 each. Okay, so let me flip the script on you, Darnell. Appraisals and inspections for apartment complexes are much more. So I remember when I bought a 36-unit building, I paid $15,000 for the appraisal. So not exactly $400. But how do I handle getting appraisals? Well, typically if you're working with a bank, typically the bank has their own in-house appraiser and inspector because they're the ones underwriting the loan and holding the note. They like to be the ones having taking part in part of the due diligence in terms of the inspector and the appraiser. Other than that, feel free. I always say my best rule of thumb is to network with other investors and get referrals. That's been my favorite ways of recruiting people on my team, is building the networks and relationships and asking for referrals. So asking, I have buddies of mine who do deals in different states. So if I do deals in that state, I'll just contact my buddy. I'll call him and say, hey, would you mind getting me in touch with your appraiser and your inspector? Did they do a good job? Did you like their work? Et cetera, et cetera. Hey guys, first time tuning in live. Awesome, man. Welcome, Taxi0509. Late to the game, but catching up. What's up from Chicago? Hey, Deluxe Redux. Where in Chicago are you from? I'm actually from Chicago as well. I live in Aurora, but my office is in Warrenville, and I live in Naperville, Warrenville area, because I spend most of my time there. I'm moving since I got married recently. I'm probably gonna be moving to Naperville, but yeah, I actually got a meetup in Naperville. So starting December, it's gonna be December 3rd. That's the next one. It's on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Email me at info@thekwakbrothers.com if you want more information. So I'll write it down for you. Info thekwakbrothers.com. All right, guys. Here we go. Are you making offers for multifamily in today's market? Yeah, off market. That's it. I'm only doing off market deals, and I'm using the average 10-year market cycle cap rate more so than today's cap rate because that's pretty dangerous. Too low. Too much competition, right? All right, guys. Any more questions? Oh, Bobby Simpson. What's up, man? It's good to see you. All right, guys. Feel free to ask more questions. Announcements. Guys, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Also, PropStream, check the links in the description below. We've got our free owner financing course and also the free workbook that we did put out. And guys, let me put out an announcement right now. You're in Humboldt Park. Nice. Very nice. Cool, man. Yeah, email me at info@thekwakbrothers.com. Check out our meetup that we do. It might be a little bit of a drive for you coming to Naperville, depending on traffic, because 290 is always really bad. But yeah, feel free to meet me in person. I love to meet you in person. I always love meeting YouTube people live in person. I like faces, man. I like people. All right. So again, guys, I'm gonna announce this real quick. So Sam and I, after long discussions, have decided that we will be discontinuing the live streams. It occurred to me that I need to be putting more of a focus and a priority on my students and also my one-on-one clients. And these are people who, again, they've put their hard-earned money towards learning from me. So even if it's a student who paid $497, for our real estate investing accelerator program, guys, that tells me, and guys, I make a lot of money today? Yes, I do, right? I make more money today than a 25-year-old kid should ever have. But at the same time, I still think $500 is a lot of money. It is. It's still a lot of money, guys. And for me to not dedicate more time towards the people who put their hard-earned money towards me, which pretty much what they're saying is, Daniel, I trust you that you're going to help me become a better investor with your classes and your curriculum. I don't take that lightly, guys. I don't. And I want to make sure they're taken care of first before anybody else, because they're my students, right? These are the people who have invested money to my skills, to my knowledge, and they're willing to learn from me. So starting December, we will be discontinuing this real estate investing live Q&A. So next week, November 25th, that's the weekend of Thanksgiving. That is the last YouTube live stream I will be doing for real estate investing Q&A. So again, guys, that next week, Monday the 25th, that is the last real estate investing Q&A I will do on YouTube. Instead, on Monday nights, I will be doing 7 p.m. I will be doing not a live Q&A, but a training call. I'll be doing a training webinar, a mastermind call for my students. So anybody who is in the program, and I know a lot of you guys that are watching, you guys are students, right? Like Bobby Simpson, I know you're a one-on-one client. I know Darnell, we spoke about you being a one-on-one client. So I know a lot of you guys that are watching right now on the live stream, you guys are already students of the Kwak Brothers Real Estate Investing program. So I'm glad you're here so I can make this announcement. So starting January, not December, starting January on Monday nights at 7 p.m., I will be running a mastermind training call just for our students alone in the Real Estate Accelerator. And also starting January, for the one-on-one clients at 8 p.m., right after the 7 p.m. call, I will be doing a more exclusive call just for my one-on-one clients. So probably only between like 8, 10, 12 people. I know we've got more one-on-one clients than that. I think we're up to like 30, 35, somewhere around there. Just because I've had to turn a lot of people away, right? Just because I didn't think they were ready. They didn't have the right attitude. But for the people that are one-on-one clients at 8 p.m. starting January on Mondays, I'll be doing a more exclusive call. And that's actually where I'll be talking about my own deals that I'm doing. So I'll be breaking down my own deals, helping you guys with yours, action steps that I'll be giving out. And it'll be a much more exclusive group. We'll get very much in depth. And yeah, it's going to be great. So Matt Smith, you'll be there. Awesome, man. Awesome. So starting January, Monday night, 7 p.m., that's for our accelerator students. 8 p.m., it's going to be for our one-on-one clients. So I'll be spending 2 hours, giving 2 hours on Monday night towards our students. And again, guys, I think that's necessary. I want to be a guy that again, prioritizes the people who has invested their money towards learning from me. I definitely do not want to ignore them. So guys, again, this is no way a disrespect towards you guys. I love doing this type of stuff. But again, I just got to prioritize my students. So next week, Monday, will be the last real estate investing live Q&A on YouTube. So if you guys, what will it take to join? So taxi 0509. If you're interested in our real estate accelerator program, email info@thekwakbrothers.com, and Joel or Ricky should be able to take care of you. They'll give you more information on what it entails. So again, guys, thank you so much. It's been a good run. Next week will be our last one. Also, if you guys want other ways and other resources to get more, free content from me, join the Facebook group, Landlords and Passive Income Mastermind. So that's a Facebook group that my brother and I created. It's got about 4,500 members in it right now for us to be able to talk to you guys, discuss, answer your guys' questions, and overall just network, right? Even post opportunities here and there. So join that Facebook group, guys. It's Landlords and Passive Income Mastermind, I think. Something along those lines. But join that Facebook group. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next Monday. See ya.